Hello, everyone. We are live. This is Tea and Magic, a show we have every Friday in the Magic Grove to talk about all things magical. Today, I have a repeat guest because she's that awesome. She was on my very first episode, if you saw it, and she is back today to talk about probably one of everyone's favorite topics, tarot. This episode is all things tarot. So I want to introduce my dear friend, Tiffany Rose, CEO of Majorly Arcana. And gosh, you're just like a goddess. You do so many different things. I posted it, by the way, I'm going to post all of her links in the description. So you just need to go to her websites and you're going to be like, wow, I'm an underachiever. No, I'm just kidding. And I mean that in the best way possible. You are just such a bright light in this world. But how are you doing today?
Good. And I can't lie, I am a total Hermione. It's that Virgo Hermione energy. I've got it right there. Oh, Virgo in the 10th house, totally. Like, don't try to compare yourselves to me. Y'all don't have Virgo in the 10th house.
We were talking about that in astrology. It was like, Virgo, by the way, is that like sometimes you can be slightly anal retentive, but also very organized. So Virgo is an incredible sign in business because y'all are like, I got stuff to do. I got my list. I'm getting it done. It's going to get taken care of. Like every single week, Tiffany and I talk and she's like, oh, here's like the giant scroll of things I got done this week. And I'm like, I love you. You are such an entrepreneur. Yeah.
You.
So first of all, I just want to know what you're drinking. Let's start with that. Let's talk about
Okay.
tea. So this is Tea and Magic.
So we're going with a little bit of a different tea option today in the form of kombucha. And this one is, because that's tea, it's technically tea. Like it has green tea and the ingredients, black tea and green tea. So we're going with it. And this is a mango flavor, mystic mango. I feel like that's a good flavor for what we're doing and talking about. There we go. I'm going to get a little.
That's what I love about you. You're so unique. You're just like, I'm going to do things my own way. Hey, thank you so much for coming back here. We are going to share all of your links and everywhere you can find Tiffany at the end, because by the end of this, you guys are going to be like, okay, I need to work with her. I need to know everything. And you also have a bunch of videos up already about tarot. We might repeat a few things here for some first timers. We had a lot of people ask about tarot in that first video, and we went into it a lot, and we're going to be going into it again. So I just want to ask you right off the bat, how did you get into tarot in the first place? We know it's this amazing divination tool, but what drew you to like finding out anything about tarot? What's the story?
Ooh, okay. So right now I'm gonna call myself a card slinger because I also do oracle cards as well. Like we all kind of shorthand all the cards as tarot, even though there's two different systems. But like I love the name card slinger. Like doesn't that just feel like you're in a western like with like a madam and you're like
From someone who is a Dark Tower fan by Stephen King, I love that term.
And so I guess I started in my journey. Like I mentioned in the first episode, I'm a second generation witch. My mom was already into all this stuff. And my first tarot deck, she was kind of slowly just teaching me little bits and pieces here about the tarot. And when we were in Arizona, when I was like 12 or 13, I saw a deck that at the time I resonated with. And I was like, oh, would you get me this deck? Like as like a souvenir? And so I got that and I kind of tried to start learning. I had a book that came with it, but it was really kind of like more Western religion based, like very Christian based, and nothing against the very lovely Christian religion, but it just didn't really fully resonate with me. And so I kind of dropped it for a few years. When I was, I want to say like 22, I ended up picking up a set of the Brian Froud fairy oracle cards. And so this is what I really credit with getting me back into being a card slinger, because I would get the cards and I started doing really accurate readings. Like, and you know, I would still like bring out the book and I'd be like, oh, like I was already starting to get called out even back then, like by like me and other people. Like I did a reading for a friend and she was just like, that's so accurate. I'm like, I don't even know what's going on in your life. So like, that's cool. That's accurate. Another person I did a reading for at that same party was like, are me and this person going to work out? And I'm like, oh no, I see your breakup. How do I like gently put this? Like you two aren't gonna last. Like maybe don't put all your eggs in this basket. You know, tact. So after that, just kind of worked with those for a while. Just really got into them. Feel little pokes and prods from that fairy magic. Then I ended up getting a credit card, and the first thing I think I did was like buy myself the Prisma Visions like tarot because it was just so gorgeous and it just really resonated with me. I actually feel silly that I didn't bring that one out. I didn't think about it. Next episode. And after that, I just ended up starting picking up decks, and that's what really kind of got me back into tarot was like having all these different decks to pick and choose from because I feel like all the different decks have different energies and different things that they're good for and different things that like I work with them for. Like some decks, like this deck I read for you last night and also for another friend, and she was telling me, Tiny Tarot packs a wall up. Like it was just calling out her BS too, and it's just Tiny Tarot. So some cards call you out, some cards are a little bit more nice about it, some cards are very snarky. And I love all the personalities that all these decks have. And so that is kind of what gets me into tarot is like using all these different decks and oracle cards together to play around and create like to kind of channel those messages. And that's kind of a weird word even saying channel, but that's kind of what it feels like. Is like, I don't know where this information's coming from and I hope it helps you. Like
At the end of the day, it is channeling, right? We talk about tarot is a beautiful divination tool. And I think that all of us that are drawn to it kind of innately know that we have, everyone has psychic abilities. They just sometimes choose to not acknowledge them or don't work with them or don't develop them or even, I would say, listen to themselves. But it's one of these amazing tools because like we'll see a deck and we're like, oh, there's something about that, like it's calling to me. And there's my cat, by the way, who is like in a crazy mood right now. Our cats always go crazy when we talk to each other, right? But it's like this beautiful divination tool. So you just mentioned something which I think is awesome, and this is cracking me up right now. That's guy crazy beans. You mentioned something that was really awesome right now is like it's like the number one meme if you go to any tarot group. It's like, my tarot called me out, right? So first of all, you actually have the domain and are doing something with that. So just touch on that really quick, like, because this is a thing, tarot calling you out and being super honest.
Oh my gosh, but that's the thing is like that's how a lot of my tarot readings go, and it turns out that like my method is like from that episode of How I Met Your Mother with Lily's character who's like, where's the bullshit? I smell bullshit. Apparently that's my tarot style. It's like, okay, my cards and I smell bullshit. I don't know the bullshit, but they do. So like they're gonna say something and I don't even know. But yeah, I recently bought calledoutbytarot.com, and if anyone here is looking to learn tarot and oracle, get a closer relationship with their decks, or just get a closer intimate relationship with reading tarot for themselves, I am doing a free beta course. It's not launched yet, we're just in the very beginning stages, but you can get on the wait list to find out when I'm launching. For this beta course, it's free, so we'll be working and developing it together, and you will get free access while I'm teaching it. And I'm really, really excited because I really want to help people use this amazing tool to like help their self-development because it's helped me so much. So yes, go to calledoutbytarot.com if you too would like to get called out by tarot.
And it is a thing. It is. I love that. We always talk about that. It's like, I think I just said that on my Moon Magic video. It's like, cut the bullshit. And every time you pick up your card, you're like, you know what? I'm having some issues. I want to go to my cards. And you pick one up and you're like, damn it. And it's not even that, it's like you're reading the cards, you already know the message. Again, you're pulling from your intuition.
You're the oracle is what Rebecca Campbell has been saying in her things, and I'm like, oh yeah, I am. We are the oracle. Like,
I love that. We are the oracle. So I want to dive into some questions because we have a bunch of people that are new to tarot, and I believe the very first question people have is, and I'm going to make this a two-parter, is what deck do I start with? And once they get the deck, how do they form a relationship? So first of all, like how would you recommend somebody choose a deck in the first place if they know nothing about tarot? And then how do they build that relationship with that deck or any of the decks that they sort of purchase and want to play with?
So it really, I would say it first depends on your budget. So we'll go with a little bit of a couple budget brackets, okay? If you have $0, you really want to get into tarot, but you have no money, 100% download the Galaxy Tarot app. It's on Android. I believe it's on iPhone. And on the Android, it actually has a widget that you can place on your home screen with a card of the day. And that will just get you started with recognizing a card every single day. And you can pop it open, look at the information, and just kind of start doing, I believe the term is rote memorization, just kind of reading it, just getting the basic definitions. So that's what to do if you have no money and you're like, I got to start right now. There's like lots of free apps with other cards, but that's the one that has the Smith Waite deck. So the next bracket I would say is like your $20 to $40 range. And if you only have like $20, I believe the deck is called Tarot Made Easy. It's by Barbara Moore. I will find the name and we'll post it in the comments and links and stuff like that. But it's like Tarot Made Easy or like Your Tarot, Your Way. It's something like that. But it's by Barbara Moore. It's about easy tarot. It is based off the Smith Waite, but it's a little bit more clear because I actually have the Smith Waite here. And this is one that everyone is going to want to kind of at some point get. Like, I don't even use this to read, but it's a good, like, it's, if you use this as a study tool, you're going to unlock 90% of other tarot decks. So you're going to want to like know this. So like, for example, you know, this is Smith Waite. We've got like all these regular cards, right? So let's see. We've got a clone, or I don't know if this is technically a clone or just super inspired by it, but this is the This Might Hurt Tarot. And this uses a lot of the same like imagery, but a little bit more modernized in a different way. See? And so if you know this and you kind of understand this, you can instantly get this a lot easier. In fact, I have another one that I'm going to pull out because it's again along this similar line of this kind of thing. So if you want, you can also get This Might Hurt deck or one of these other ones. Like here's the full card from the Modern Witch Tarot. You see how similar they are? But this is a lot more like, I relate to this a lot more. It's a girl who's dancing versus like kind of someone from like an old time, like, you know what I mean? Like there's a cityscape behind her. So that's modern interpretations. Now, I would suggest getting one of those or getting something like your Everyday Witch Tarot, especially if you're into the witch stuff, because this is not a direct clone, but it's got a lot of the similar imagery. So see, we've got the Magician again, and you can kind of see how similar but different they are. This is one that I also really love as a beginner deck, is the Everyday Witch Tarot. I've got the tiny version, and I apologize if I start to lose my mind over how tiny these cards are. It's just a thing. They're so tiny and so cute, and I love them. They're so tiny.
I mean, what's not to love about tiny cards? Come on. They're like, it's almost like when you see little fairy homes and gardens, you're like, look at that whole entire dining room set that's like this big. Like, these tiny things are adorable.
Right? So, yeah, if you have $20, Barbara Moore's like tarot, easy tarot deck, search it on Google, we'll get the link. If you have like $40, get that plus a deck you really enjoy just the look of, because you're going to want one that you get that kind of rote memorization with, where you're getting the traditional meanings, and then you want one that you really just feel the meanings for, that like you look at the card and you're like, oh, like this resonates with me. So I've got another deck that I really like that doesn't look like these ones, but it's just so gorgeous, and I've always just really resonated with it, is the oh my gosh, it's the Star Seed or Star Child Tarot. I forget all of a sudden, I apologize. But let me see if I can find another Fool card. It's all mixed up from my own readings. No, we'll go with this Queen of Wands card. So this is like the Queen of Wands card in the deck. This doesn't look like any of your standard tarot deck cards, but look at how ethereal and gorgeous this is.
Oh,
and
gorgeous.
And this one's like a little bit more expensive, actually. Like a lot of the indie decks are going to run you $45 to $60. But if you really resonate with it and you have the money, I 100% say go for it and get multiple ones. Like I have probably somewhere around like 20 tarot decks and like 10 oracle decks. And I play around with all of them in different varying degrees. They all have different things to tell me in different ways, you know? So that's,
yeah, speaking of that, I just want to share my deck. I have the Shadowscapes deck, which I use all the time. And just speaking of imagery, I mean, I love that you said that, because there's like, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, there's like the methodology and the system that you're trying to learn. So it's like, okay, this card does mean something. It is an archetype, or it is part of this suit, and this message is coming through. But then there's also the visuals that resonate with you. And that's kind of what you're also picking up on when you're pulling in your intuition. It's like, ooh, okay, I know it means this, but I'm kind of interpreting it in this way because of the feeling I'm getting from it. So it's you. And I just wanted to mention that because I think there are some people that are like, I need to know the system. I need to know the rules. I need to know what these mean. And I'm really strict with what that means. But you also have that feeling and that interpretation, because sometimes you pull something and it could mean one thing for one person and a completely different thing for somebody else, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's also why I love playing with multiple decks, because each deck has different stories and different imagery. And the method that we're going to actually do today, if people brought the tarot cards, and is this method where you go into the tarot deck. I actually just did this with a very lovely friend the other evening. And it was great because he got a message that I think he wasn't expecting. And I think that's what's kind of great about it, is because that's a really great way of tapping into like your intuition, your unconscious. For those who are, I know we're all here, we're all witchy and magical, but I also like to talk to people who are on the more skeptical end. And I think tarot is a great tool for those who are kind of on the more skeptical end, because it's like, one of the things I talk about, it's not just to help tell your journey and tell the future, it's to help you shape your journey and to help you create your future. And it's a way of recognizing patterns and archetypes. Now, of course, you and me, we get on, we do readings, and it's like, okay, not only am I called out, like it's like reading my exact situation to a T, to a point that it's creepy, or like getting stalked by cards. Like we know what card stalks me, and like we all get stalked by cards, and that's fascinating. And yeah, having the different decks with the different artwork lets you interpret certain things in different ways. Like these are going to be interpreted pretty similar, right? Like these are kind of the two like similar cards, so it's pretty easy to interpret these. But if I have something like this other one that I'm going to find while we talk, I'm going to go to it, I'm going to find it, like it's, you're just going to get a completely different like view. Ah, here we go. Like this, that's a completely different interpretation of a Fool card. That's completely different, but this is
Yeah,
about like that kind of
totally.
starseed
Absolutely.
energy. But it's great because like, going into this card is going to probably give me a different like message than going into this card. They're probably going to both be similar, but like there'll be subtle differences, because like talking to the characters and stuff. Like this one is going to be, she's got like, I believe it's the flower of life is what that's called, right? The flower of life. I'm still learning.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And like that's just completely different energy. I love it. Anyway, I'm geeking out.
I love it. But and I also, so I want to get to the second question, which is how do you create a relationship? But first,
Oh
we
yeah.
had a question here on the wall from Casey. Is she heard that you always should have a card that you use just for yourself? Like, is that something that your deck that you use just for yourself? And what I think she means by that is like, this is my deck. I only use it to do readings for me and myself and my own situations. I don't know if that's something you've ever run into.
I think it really depends on the witch. So I'm gonna go wide for a second and talk about magic-y energy stuff. And one of the guys that I really like is Alan Chapman. And what he kind of did is he broke down magic into almost a grand unified theory, but not quite. But part of it is like it goes back to intention. So whatever you think means something is what you're going to make it mean. I could just as easily create a spell to make myself feel beautiful by like using like roses and rose water and rose quartz and pink and like get that good self-love goodness. Or I could just as easily go outside and like shout at a flower, damn it, I'm beautiful now. And if I believe with all my intent that that means that I'm going to feel beautiful now, like because I'm putting that intent and that magic into that, like that's what's important. So for me, I don't have that intent where I can only read for myself on the deck or only read for others' decks. I mix it all around. I'm also not like, I'm personally not precious with my energy because I know how to like block my energy, get my energy, and I also live in the middle of nowhere for a reason. So I'm not super precious with my energy, but some people are because they have to be. Like there's no wrong way to do it. So like if having a deck that's just your deck and your energy really resonates with you, I think that's great. If you want to use it for yourself and everyone, that works too. What's important is your intention behind it and what you're making it mean.
Yes, I love that because we always say magic is your personal power plus intention.
Yep.
I do. I want to touch base on this really quick, and then we'll go into the relationship because we love to make love to our tarot cards. Um,
Mm.
I will say this, that, I personally also do not have a deck that I just use for myself, because the more in tune I am with the deck, it's more likely that I'm probably going to use it to read every other person and all of my clients as well, because I have formed that relationship. But I will say this, and I'm curious what your take is, that I don't like people playing with my decks and touching my decks. So people will just like pick up my decks and open up the box, and I'm like, stop. Like, it's almost like touching someone's altar to me. If someone walks up
Mm.
and they start fiddling with my crystals and start playing with my stuff, it's like I spent a long time clearing the energy and putting my energy and creating this relationship. To me, that's almost like coming up and like grabbing your butt. It's like, don't touch my sacred tools. And I'm curious as to what you think, because that's just my personal take on it. That, like, I'll share my knowledge and my psychic abilities, but like, don't touch my stuff.
I think it's a consent issue, honestly, because like
Yeah.
I was doing a reading for someone and like I was like, here, yeah, go ahead and pick a card. She's like, you're gonna let me touch your cards? It's like, yeah, because I'm like letting you, because I'm like inviting you. You're not just like coming up and grabbing it and just being like, oh, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, here, like I want your energy for this part, because that way we're getting this like cross of energy. Because again, once we're done, I can just clear the deck just using like an energy like exercise very easily, and just kind of do that. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And how do you and I'm gonna keep this short because I want to go into like the story of tarot, because it's just
Oh,
so big.
wonderful.
But really quickly, when you get first of all, I want you to answer part one, how many decks you have, and two, when you get a new deck, how do you create a relationship with it? Or maybe if you're a new time tarot person and you're just a beginner, how do you create the relationship with that deck and sort of relate to it and connect your energy to it?
Wonderful question. So, what was the first thing before we go into that one? Because there was like two. There was two.
How
Wait.
many decks do you have, girl?
Okay. Okay. So I've probably got like about 20, 25 tarot decks and like another 10, maybe 15 oracle decks. I have a giant Mary Kay makeup bag, and I put every single one of my decks in an Ipsy bag, because that way, so part of my method of reading is I put all of them in Ipsy bags, and then I have them all easily accessible, because then I'm just rapidly going through decks when I need to, because then I'm being called to a deck. I don't have to go through and open a box. I can just like literally like slide it open, toss my hand in, pull a card out, and go back. It's like really easy access to do this kind of massive multiple card readings I do, because sometimes I'll do readings for myself where I'm like, okay, I guess I need another deck. I need this, because sometimes you want like, sometimes like, if you're working with spirit or your higher energy or whatever, they want to give you the message a couple times with like this different decks with the same card and be like, no, girl, listen. So yeah, I own entirely too many decks, but I love it, and I love having all these decks. They make me so happy. In terms of starting to form intimate relationships with them, actually, a couple of these decks I'm still kind of forming relationships with. One of the things is because got such an intimate relationship with tarot in general, and I've been doing it for so long, I can kind of instantly form a relationship. Like, this is my newest tarot deck, is This Might Hurt Tarot, and it's this gorgeous like Waite
Ooh,
Smith
I love
inspired deck. Like, oh my gosh, yes, look at that, I love her. And oh, hold on. Woo!
that. Oh yes, iridescent hologram, baby. That's my
Right,
favorite.
and like I barely shuffled her, and I just did like a quick reading, and I was like, okay, called out. Okay, girl, we were there already. I don't even remember what it was off the top of my head, but it was
I,
just like, all right, I get
I feel like
it.
I feel like you're basically saying, like, I know a deck's meant for me when it calls my shit out. And
Right?
then we're friends. We're immediate friends.
um, I apologize to pause in the middle of our lovely conversation. How bad is it going to be for the noise if I put on my air conditioner, because I'm in the middle of a hot desert and it is just
Oh yeah, you're
me.
fine. Go for it. Go for it.
Wonderful.
Pause. Yeah, she lives in Joshua Tree, and so hot desert. I forget the California folks are getting super sunshine right now. I mean, it's been hot in Oregon where I am at, so I can imagine it's already May and California just starts getting hot. It's going to be hot until the end of the year. So I just personally moved from there, so I get that.
Oh, there we go. I am there. I'm not so much.
All good. We don't hear anything, so you are fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful. It's always a big thing with sound.
Yeah. So so how do you kind of create an energetic attachment? I don't know if attachment's the right word, but a bond to your deck when you first get it.
Um, ooh. So when I first get my deck, one thing I usually like to do is I open it up. I just get really excited, and then I just kind of go through the cards one by one, just kind of look at them and just kind of start getting to know them. Another thing I do, and I don't have this out yet for the public, but I'm currently working on a late night talk show interview your deck, which is a little bit different than the typical interview your decks because the kind of goal with this one is that you can keep going back and interviewing your deck. Like you're on a talk show, you're the talk show host, and you just have a repeat guest come back, like me right now. But you can do that with your deck. So instead of like just an introduction, like you'll have the introduction interview, but then you can keep coming back and asking kind of similar questions and things that it wants to know. So I'm working on that spread right now, but that's something I'll do. Sometimes I'll do an interview spread. Some people, especially if you're new, suggest sleeping with a tarot deck under your pillow, by your head. I did that with my first couple tarot decks. All my tarot decks are in my bedroom now. They're all in my altar space. So at this point, like I said, since I'm kind of so into tarot, like it's like they know they've got a safe home with me, so they trust me right away. Versus like when I was first setting out, I had to kind of like really put that energy into bonding with the cards. Like the first cat you get versus like the 50th cat.
Well, we're talking about 50 cats. I know exactly how that feels.
Like when you get another cat, like they know you're a cat person. They're like, okay, I trust you a little more. I can
Yeah,
tell. Like you
right.
know how to work with me.
I love that. Yeah, so I'm going to move on. I'm going to ask you this question, and then I'm going to answer another question. I'm going to let you ponder while I ask this, but I want to move into the story of tarot, the major arcana, the minor arcana, and I want to talk a little bit about how that story flows throughout the entire deck, and then also cover kind of what we covered a little bit in that first episode was, how we can use these decks to work with elemental magic. So,
Mm.
so let's start with the story of tarot, and if you could walk us through that. But while you ponder, I want to answer Ruth's question here because she says she keeps hearing you should be gifted your first tarot deck, and where does that idea come from? And
Hmm.
do you follow that line of belief? So I'm going to answer that, and Tiffany can answer that as well. I've not heard of that. I personally do not believe that myself. I don't know where it came from because this is the first time I've heard of it. But I will say this, that to me, tarot is a type of divination. It is a divination tool that is linked to you and your intuition. And I kind of feel like saying that it should be gifted to you is like saying, you can't eat food unless somebody buys you a meal, or you're not allowed to tap into your intuition unless somebody gives you permission and gives you this tool to do so. That's just my personal opinion. So I don't agree with that, but I have to say, like, I don't actually know where that came from. I don't know if you do or you agree with
I
that.
So, okay, one, I've definitely heard of this. I'm in a lot of tarot groups, and one of the questions I see repeated over and over and over and over again is, do you need to be gifted your first tarot deck? You absolutely do not need to be gifted your first tarot deck, because technically, if you buy it for yourself, you're giving a gift to yourself. So technically, you're gifting yourself a tarot deck anyway. But also, I also don't know where it comes from, but my guess is it's a form of gatekeeping. It's a form of gatekeeping to say like only certain people are allowed to do things. Like you're like it's part of why like I've never been into this whole like I know I'm a second generation witch, but I don't like this whole you have to only be a hereditary witch. And not that there's anything wrong with that. Like I love that, but I don't like that the gatekeeping of any kind of magic. Because for me, it's like kind of like what you're saying for food. It's like saying that you can't dance or sing or create art. Like you can't do magic because you weren't like gifted into it. When for me, I feel like it's every human's like natural birthright because it's like their consciousness. It's just playing with their consciousness. They're saying that you're not allowed to play with your consciousness because you like didn't like get a particular like hereditary like trait or you didn't get born into the luck lottery of happen to be being born in a witch family. I'm not into that. And again, like I think a lot of the hereditary stuff is really cool. I think it's so freaking cool when people have like family lineages they can trace. Like I don't want kids, but like part of me's like I want a baby witch. Like I'll give my baby witch powers to my baby.
Oh,
Like I
but
don't
you
even
get
want a
baby,
kid.
you get
But
baby witches through your clients though, right? Like you
exactly.
get
So
to
I
work with
give them
baby
all my
witches.
right? So yeah, I think that comes from a form of just kind of gatekeeping. So I'm not for it. You're giving yourself a gift by giving yourself the gift of tarot. So boom, like logic workaround.
Yes, let's move into the story of tarot. Let's spend a few minutes on this, and I'm just gonna let you go, you flow with
Oh gosh.
how the cards work, what the major arcana, the minor arcana, tying a little bit into elements. And, you know, by the way, we're not going to get into like super detail because Tiffany does teach this. She's going to be creating a whole school for this. So we're just giving you the overview right now. And then you're going to have to follow up with her if you want more details.
Right? Okay. So one, if you want like a full animated, like actual story of the major arcana that the Fool goes through, we'll also post a link to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/cherryphase. And that has my All About Tarot episode. I've got a wonderful animated sequence that goes through the Fool's journey to the major arcana. So 100% check that out for a more detailed version of all of this stuff. But we've got the Fool. And so one of the things that's cool is the Fool can kind of go through this journey of the major arcana and go all the way through all these cards back to the world. And because the Fool is the 0 card, it's actually like the first and last card because it's a cycle. So like the Fool meets the magician, or in some cases becomes the magician, and they learn from here. This is about just kind of jumping off the cliff and going for it. This is, hey, you have all the tools to have your power. In fact, in the Fool's Bindle, there are the 4 suits of the tarot. So we'll get into the suits of the tarot in a second. Then the Fool meets the High Priestess, which is about the unconscious. So this is that active, go for it, do it energy. This is this passive, receptive, letting the information come to me energy. Then the Fool meets the mother figure, the kind of really extra feminine kind of goodness. This is also that passive energy, but I'm not gonna lie, when I teach a lot of this stuff, I have a lot of the hard time with the gender terms because I want to make sure I keep things gender neutral, like that we're more inclusive. Plus, I think that I think that both have their uses, but I think that it turns people away if they're like, oh, this is a feminine energy. I'm a man. I can't possibly relate to like this feminine energy card. It's like, it's about archetypal energy. Archetypal passive energy. So this is like also about fertility and like growth. This is that kind of like structured energy, like that quote unquote masculine energy. And again, that active energy. But whereas the magician is honestly kind of like He-Man, I have the power. This guy is like, I am the power almost. Like I kind of joke that he's like the daddiest of daddies. So, daddy. It's the Hierophant. I'm not always quite sure on pronunciation. This is a teacher. This can be kind of like your structure, organized religion. And so the Fool kind of keeps going through this journey, like, okay, masculine energy, feminine energy, passive, active energy, going through that again, but with a bit different thing of like, this is the person. These are kind of like the parents almost sometimes, or that kind of like advisor energy almost. This is like the structure of society too. Then this is where the Fool comes and makes a choice. A lot of people think this just means love, and it can, but it also means like choices and like the path that you want to make. Like maybe you want to make a path to stay on your current path, or maybe you want to go on a path to meet a new love. Because if you bring someone new into your life, you are changing paths from what you were doing. Next, the Fool meets the Chariot, which basically tells the Fool just to keep steady on the course, just to kind of keep going for it. Like, yes, you got the right way. You know where you're going. Then, of course, the Fool meets Strength, which helps the Fool tame their wild mental beasties. So you can kind of see taming that lion mouth. So that's you taming your own mental beasties and kind of having strength. The Hermit is when the Fool either meets or the Fool goes and hides out and really takes everything they've been learning and really internalizes it. And kind of, I like to imagine in my mind that they kind of like go into like a guided visual journey, and then they see this, which is like the Wheel of Fortune, and it's like, it could be an up cycle, it could be a down cycle, your luck may change, like it could be good luck, bad luck. It's like life is a bunch of cycles though. Like that's what we do with witchcraft and all this kind of stuff, is learning about the cycles of life. So then the Fool meets Justice, which is more of, so there's 2 balance cards. This is like an external balance between like you and the world, and like the world at large, and the justice that exists between people. Then the Fool meets the Hanged Man, which is just a time to kick back, surrender, and again, kind of that receptive energy of just letting the information come to you. Like if you're wanting to make a decision and you get this card, it's like, wait a second, chill back and just think on it. Then, of course, the Fool meets the Death card, and before everyone poops their pants, death means change. People still get the death card and they think they're going to die or it means something bad. It just means change. It just means transformation. One of the best ways I think I've seen it described was actually in the Proud Fairy Oracle, which also has a death card, which is without death, we'd be up to our necks in like flies and alligators. Like death is just a form of change and it clears out the old to make way for the new. Then the Fool meets a different kind of balance, temperance. So while justice was that external balance, this is more of an internal balance, kind of balancing your fire and water, the two things that shouldn't mix, but you're using alchemy to kind of make them work so you can become like a more spiritually grown person. Of course, the Fool then comes to the Devil card, which has nothing really to do with the Christian devil. This is about the things that bind you. Like you can see, they have chains, but look at, their chains are big enough that if they wanted to leave, they could just remove these from over their head and leave right now. So it's about removing your own chains. This is the one that you want to poop at. This is the tarot card. This is like, well, shit went bad. It bad. It done. It fell apart. But there's also a little bit of hope in this because, there's that like essence of like rising from the ashes, that like phoenix rebirth. The Star card is that hope that comes after everything is collapsed. So pouring water. So, the Fool's kind of going through this journey. They beat the tower, they meet the star, and then they kind of think they're at the end of the journey. Now, for you and a lot of people, this also means intuition. And also it means like your shadow self, coming to light and like incorporating those parts of yourself. Like the moon doesn't have light of its own. It reflects the light of the sun. And so there's kind of that beautiful symbolic metaphor with that. So the Fool thinks their journey's done. They're like, oh, cool. Like I'm at the moon, I'm at the sun, I'm at the hope. We're good. But it's like, nope. You still got some inner stuff to work on. Now things are good and happy and yay. We're at the sun card. This is the happiest woohoo card of the deck. Then, of course, the Fool meets Judgment. Now, this is not as judgy of a card as you think. It's actually in one other deck I like. I think it's the Muse Tarot. It's called Awakening. And it's about like incorporating kind of all the lessons you learned and like seeing where you're at. And again, with that kind of lessons incorporation is the world, but this is more like you've incorporated. This is like, what have you learned? This is like you've incorporated what you've learned. If I'm just kind of going off it. And then once you get to the world, whoop, we're back at the Fool again because you get to do the journey all over again.
Oh my God. Yeah. So this is, you were talking about cycles. I'm gonna let you take a drink of your tea for a minute here.
Yes, please.
You're talking about cycles. And our lives, this is, by the way, the Fool journey all the way to the world is not it could be our life cycle in some sense, but a lot of times our life goes in like a year, like 9-year cycle or like 9 or 10-year cycle. So if you look at your life, depending on how old you are, I'm 43, so I look at my life and I'm like, okay, I can see the cycle happen, like these big cycles happened 4 times. And I'm now sort of in the middle of like a cycle. I'm a 6-year. You can actually calculate your numerology and you can see what year you are by adding your birthday, your birth month, and the year 2020 or whatever year it happens to be whenever you're watching this video. And then you can look at the card that's associated with that year and say, okay, this is the sort of part of the cycle that I'm in right now. But the point is that you are always going through cycles, and you will have these overarching life cycles, and then you will have these decade-long cycles, and then sometimes you have like week-long cycles or project-long cycles. So think about this as whatever you are doing a reading for, it all depends on the cycle that you are talking about. So there's just levels of cycles, right? There's so many levels of cycles.
That.
It's all intertwined. Yes.
Right. And then of course there's like the cycles of the seasons and stuff like that too. There's the cycles of the moon. It's like a bunch of, so for those who are again kind of on the, I call myself Schrodinger's witch because I play right on that fine line of existing and not existing with all these concepts, because that way I can be a better teacher and a better researcher, because it's not about whether or not it's true, scientifically fact, and research. It's about whether or not it helps you. So one of the things that I like to describe for those who are a little bit more skeptical and not so much into the spiritual, oh, the universe kind of provides a sphere, but they're like, I want to kind of think of it more atheist kind of way. Play around with it as a clock of giant cycles that all kind of intertwine and play around with each other. This also goes for astrology too. It's just a giant clock, and occasionally, click, 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 click. Here's where you're at in your life right now. So hopefully that made sense.
No,
So,
I love that. Yeah, because I think a lot of people, they some of these tools were created so long ago, and a lot of people get stuck. We were talking about this last night, by the way. Tiffany did an amazing reading for me, which like blew my mind. But we were talking about the universe versus God. I mean, it's the same exact thing, but like people get stuck on the word God, and they're like, okay, well, I'm an atheist, so I got to call it the universe. It's like, well, we're all talking about the same thing. You're just stuck on the labels. And I think with tools like tarot, some people won't pick them up because they've heard that they're evil, or they heard that they're magic and they're not into magic, or they don't want to get into this woo woo, or whatever the excuse is. Really, they're just tools for your own intuition. And
mhm.
like you said, the only thing you're really being asked to believe is your own intuition.
And not even, I mean, there's that. And then also I would say like the only other thing you're really asked to believe in is archetypes that exist in stories that we've all watched anyway. If you've ever related to a character on a story, you can do tarot.
Yes, I
Like, because
love
you're the
that.
story, you're the character in the story of tarot. Like, that's the only difference. And on top of that, like, even if you never use it to work on shaping your own life, it's an amazing tool for artists to like bust your creativity. And that's why I also like all these other different oracle cards. So let's see. I'm gonna talk quickly about the suits, and I also really want to do that exercise where I teach everyone
Yep.
how to go
We
into the
have
card.
we started about 10 minutes late, so we still got about 20, about
Oh, good. Oh,
20 minutes.
yay.
Yeah, we can blow through that, and then we'll do the exercise for everybody. So grab
Okay,
your card.
wonderful. So in terms of elementals, we have 4 suits, and this also can help you learn magic and witchcraft. And that's, I think tarot is such a great tool for learning witchcraft. Like, it's one of my favorite tools to teach witchcraft, because aside from the fact that like you learn your elements, you learn a little bit about numerology. One of the things is like, okay, let me bring out the Magician, which is the 1 card. We also have all of these ace cards, which also stand for the number 1. So this is that I am the beginning, I am the power. This is that, but for each of these elements. So for swords, it's I am the power in the air element. For fire, it's I am the power in the fire element. For earth, it's I am the power in the earth element. I am the power in the water element. And also because they're aces, it's like the purest form of expression of this energy, right? Or for example, let's go to the High Priestess, which is all about duality. So going with these suits, we've got 4, oh no, that's the Major Arcana. I'm back here. We've got all these different cards that represent forms of duality in the different elements. So forms of duality when it comes to relationships is meeting a partner, meeting a lover. A form of duality when it comes to your health and wealth is trying to find that balance. Part of the duality of fire is like making plans and maybe even leaving one path and going for another, and like making a proper decision about all the different things you could do to kind of conquer the world, build your empire. Or the duality of swords is like the decisions between all these different thoughts, and you're not sure which thought you should go with. So like I actually, if you go to the calledoutbytarot.com and you sign up for the beta list, the thank you page also has a free bonus tarot cheat sheet that will teach you all these just quick little meanings that I've just talked about here. And you can kind of apply them, mix them around. And that's how I started learning tarot. Was I was kind of like, okay, I know the first 10 cards. And so I kind of can just apply that number to this element and kind of get a basic meaning and just kind of understand it. And then I started doing like the really rote memorization. So yeah, we've got the 4 suits, and then of course you got the court cards, and those can represent yourself or people in your life. So like for example, sometimes I'm like, Kristen knows this, she knows I am 100% the Queen of Wands. And do you want me to tell them your queen? Is that cool?
Oh yeah, actually, I get the Queen of Wands all the time too.
Yeah. But I know that you also like the Queen of Swords a little bit, right?
You're Swords.
And
Me,
so
for me, it's like about fire. So I'm like, I love the sword, but it's like the wands is fire, and it always confused me. I was like, why is swords not fire? That just seems like warrior spirit. That always got to me. I've always wanted them to be different.
But that's the thing. You can some people actually do switch them. Some people do run that way.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm gonna do that. I always feel like wand should be air and sword should be fire. That's
no,
but
like,
it's not. But I always wanted it to be.
no, in some traditions, well, I don't want to say traditions, but like some people do switch it up. Like it's like like I've read both. As Sean Spencer from Psych would say, I've heard it both ways. So yes, we've got that. Or like, okay, I'm a Queen of Wands, but I also definitely have that like King of Wands, like build an empire energy, which if I can find it in my tiny tarot, you'll see why I relate to it even more. But I think you guys kind of understand where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah, and by the way, she mentioned court cards. So you go
Yes.
through all the numbers. It's kind of like a deck, any deck of cards that you played if you played poker. You go through all the numbers and then you hit the page, which I believe is more like the jack. So there's like the page, the queen, the king. So
And
we
the
have
knight.
all those. And the knight. Yeah, there you go. The knight. Yeah, I was like, which one is first? Wait, the page is
So the page is the child.
there
The
you go.
page is your child is the child. The knight is the teenager, and then the queen and king are like mommy and daddy. But like that, like again, don't take the energy too seriously. It's all archetypal. So I was just showing you guys that King of Wands, where it's like that entrepreneurial energy for me in this deck, which is the traditional. But this is the one that like I feel that energy with a lot. Is like, oh yes, here's me at like my board talking to my cat, like planning things. Definitely talking to the cat while doing it. 100% talking to the cat while doing that.
If you're an entrepreneur, get yourself some cats because they make the best business partners
They do.
and therapists.
Okay, so I think that's a good amount of information on the.
Perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's perfect. And I am going to link everyone to your website so that they can go get the cheat sheet and then link to the video. So if you do want more information about what all of those cards mean, I'm going to link to that. And Tiffany shares that in a completely separate video and goes into more detail. So look for that. Yes.
Wonderful.
And now I think we're on to the exercise, right?
Yes, we are. Okay, so I'm gonna actually go over to the comments right now while I try to get my tarot cards up and catch up a little bit. So let's see.
I have been reading them. Yeah.
I want to hear from everyone. Did you guys all bring a deck? Did everyone bring a tarot deck or oracle deck? You could do this exercise with any kind of deck, any kind of card that you want. You could honestly even do this with an image. Like if you just find an image, like this is a form of, I believe the term is like path working, and it's a form of guided visual meditation that helps get you in touch with like your unconscious. So let me know, y'all, if you guys all have your tarot decks. Yeah, Jeannie
Those
says
of
she
you
does
watching
have
this
that.
later, pause, get your tarot decks. We're doing this live in the Magic Groove
The Magic Crew.
Magic Grove Facebook group. We are doing this live there. So we're waiting on some of our folks to grab their decks. But if you are watching this video later on our YouTube channel, pause, grab your deck, and get ready for a kick-ass exercise. Yes.
Right.
Well,
In the
got
meantime,
your deck.
right. I was gotta say this in the meantime. The grove is in the heart. Sorry, I couldn't resist. It kept poking me. It kept
I
poking.
love it. Oh my gosh. So appropriate.
Okay. So I'm gonna don't worry, Ruth, if you don't have one. You can come back and watch this. And what you'll do, Ruth, if you guys don't have a deck and you want to do this later, download the Galaxy Tarot app and there'll be an option to get like a single card, like not for your card of the day, but there'll be an option to do a single card. And you can use that. Like, don't limit yourself for what you can do just because you don't currently have the tools at this exact moment. Like, you're going to be fine. I believe in you. Okay, so I'm going to have everyone first shuffle their cards. And I'm going to get my cards just put aside so that way I can shuffle my own cards. I'm going to use my Star Seed, Star Child Tarot because I love it. And it's a very interesting going into the deck kind of experience. Okay. So shuffle. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're shuffling right now. So if you guys do have any more questions, if you have any questions in the Facebook group, if you're watching this later on YouTube and you have any questions, even though we're not currently live for you, definitely feel free to add them to the comments. And if I don't know the answer, I will contact Tiffany and ask her. And I do see some questions that we will answer when we're done with the exercise today.
Perfect. Okay. So when everyone has shuffled, I want you just to kind of imagine putting your energy into the card. And if you never really worked with your energy in any sort of direct way like that, pardon me, I gotta grab me a napkin. If you never worked with your energy where you've ever directed your energy, really it's just using your imagination. It's using your mind's eye, your imagination, like for those who've never done it. Like I feel like a lot of people get caught up, and myself get caught up in like, oh my gosh, what's energy? I don't feel it. It's like just use your mind's eye, your imagination. You're just gonna see and imagine it doing things. Okay. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna put your deck in your hands, and I just want you to kind of imagine a white glowing light around it now that you've shuffled. And you're going to get a message that you need to hear right now from the universe. It's okay if you already know like the instant card message because you know tarot already, but we're going to try another technique to get a little bit of a deeper message, okay? And I'm going to do mine as a message for everyone in the chat right now that they need to hear. And I will do an example of me doing this kind of method after I teach you all how to do it. So that way you guys can get a cool little message too. And we'll see what comes up. We'll see what channels up. Okay. So imagine that white light around your cards, and with one of your hands, whichever one feels appropriate, whatever one feels like your most magic hand, which I know there's some rules for which hand's the magic hand, go with what you feel. You're the magic. And let yourself pick a card. You can fan out the cards and pick a card. You can put them on their side and rub your finger along until it feels right. But there's going to be a moment where you're like, oh, this card. And I want you to pick that card, okay? So just like let your hands feel it and go with, oh, this card. And I've got my card for the chat. So let's put that aside. Okay, now that everyone has your card, I want you to look at it. I want you to actually look at the card in front of your face and really like delve into it. Let's look at all the art and decoration. I'm not going to show you mine because I want you to focus on yours. Look at any symbols, any things that have meaning. Part of Magick is also what the symbols on the cards mean generally, but also what they mean to you. Like roses have one meaning in society, but they're going to always have a personal meaning to me because my name's Tiffany Rose. So if you have like any power symbols that are on the card, take note of that. And now I want you to take the card and I'm going to have you put it up to your third eye and keep kind of seeing the card so you have it, but we're going to go to a blank space. In your mind's eye, you're in an entirely black room. There's just nothing but darkness around you. It's just pitch black. It's like that new black paint that basically sucks out all the light. You're going to turn your head in whichever direction feels comfortable for you, and you're going to see a shining light. I want you to walk over to that light, and you're going to see like a giant doorway, like a giant monolith, your tarot card shining like a giant screen. And I want you to go up to it and look at it. It's going to be like a portal. It's going to just look like the card, and I want you to walk up to it, put your fingertips up to it, and I want you to imagine that you're Alice going through the looking glass, and you're going to go into that card. You're going to pass through into that card, and you're going to be in the world that is created in that card. Now, this is where it gets a little bit scary, but it's still fun. First, notice the scenery that you're in. Is it fruitful? Is it barren? Is it a forest? Is it a desert? Is it a different planet? Don't tell me, just notice this stuff. If you can, I want you to quote unquote smell. I was doing a reading last night and I could kind of smell the ocean in my mind's eye. I couldn't like smell it physically, but I'm like, yeah, this place smells like the ocean. Like I just get that vibe. This place smells like the ocean. So if you're a place where you're at has a scent, is it vivid? Is it colorful? Depending on your tarot deck, it might be pastels, it might be all blue tones, it might be rainbow, whatever your deck you're using. Look around and see what the colorscape is. Now, chances are there was probably a character on your card. If not, don't worry, I'll talk about what to do with that. If you don't have a character on your card, there's probably something in your card, maybe even a flower, maybe an object. Either way, the character, object, flower, whatever, you're going to go walk up to it. If there wasn't a character in your card, but there's a character in your mind's eye, that's okay too. That's just the person who lives in that card in your mind's eye. You're going to go up, and this scenario, I'm just going to keep using the word person just so it can be quicker. You're going to go up to that person, and you're going to just start talking to them. See what they have to say. You might have to quiet your brain down, breathe in a lot, and really listen. And sometimes they might not say anything for a while. So we're going to sit here for like a minute or so And I want you just to talk to that character in the card and see what they have to say and what they want to tell you. Okay, I'm going to nudge you gently back. It's okay if your conversation was going to go on longer. It just means after the video, you just go back into that card and you go have a good long conversation, because apparently, like, you're unconscious or that card has some stuff to tell you. Now that you've talked to your character, the person in the card, or it could have been an object, it could have been an animal, it could have been a flower, whatever messages you got while you were in the card, thank the card for giving you those messages. And then slowly start walking out from where you came. And you're going to find that portal back to the black area that you were at before. You're going to walk through. And when you feel ready, you can just slowly open your eyes and come back. Okay, y'all. So actually, I want to, before Kristen tells me what she heard, like, I would love to hear some comments of, like, if anyone got some messages or they heard anything, or if, like, you know, I know that we could have gone a little longer, but I also know we're kind of trying to keep our time here. But you could go as long as you need to when you're doing this for yourself. So hopefully someone got some messages, got some good stuff. I actually got a good message for all y'all from my card.
Do you want to share your message? Well, I think we're on a little bit of a delay with the live, so let's see if anybody pops up with what they heard. Would love to hear from you guys. Yes. Do you want to share your message first?
No, you share your message first. I'm gonna share mine. You share yours.
Yeah, really fascinating. So I got the Justice card, of course.
Ooh.
And you know, I don't want to share I want to share too much information. Tiffany gave me a reading last night about some personal things that I'm going through. And so I just thought this was really fascinating because, as you can see here, there's butterflies and there is a scale that's balanced and there's a white feather. And to me, it was crazy when I walked into this world, she's standing on a tree branch and it was Justice, and there was this whole half behind me where, like, the world was in chaos and burning and, like, crazy things were happening, but in front of me where I was going, it was this beautiful green luscious place. And I really felt the message that she was like, you know, justice is upon ourselves. Like, we can't really bring justice to anyone else in this world. We can only bring justice to ourselves in our life and create our own choices. And, you know, I will give you a little bit of a hint. Like, last night, Tiffany and I were having this conversation about being a martyr and how I felt like I was like, but I'm here to help people and I have to help people. And really, my soul is like, no, you are here to have a pleasurable human experience and make sure you are taken care of first. So that's kind of that's the message that I received. And with the butterflies, it was really about transformation. It's like, I'm finally creating that balance and that transformation in my life. I have a year 6, so that was big about choices. It's like, what choice do I want to go? What is the direction that I want my life to go? It's like, so I'm headed in the direction of this beautiful, luscious forest and greenery that I created for myself. Or do I go back here into chaos? And, like, why? You know, anybody that's back there in chaos, they have the choice to go into this greenery. So that was like a huge thing for me. It was like, I don't have to go back there and save anybody. I'm going to the greenery. You want to be there? You meet me there. So that was my big message. So good. Yeah. So
I love it.
Oh yeah, and we've got some people here. Stuart says 21, he got the world. Why am I blocking myself? Just go.
Ooh.
That's a good one. And then Jeannie says, I pulled a 10 of hearts. The message told me that as much as I feel like I'm struggling on the home front, homeschooling, meeting, writing deadlines, I'm on the right path and there's more joy in this experience to come. Oh, 10 of cups, she said.
But to be fair, the heart is the cup suite, so, like, I count it.
Yes, it is. It is the heart. Yeah, that is. Oh, I love that. Ooh, isn't this powerful, you guys? I mean, I was just like I've never dove into a card before. And I know you do this, and I'm going to start doing that more often because I just felt like I went into this much deeper meaning.
right? And you don't have to do it, you know, when you're doing a reading, you don't have to do it with every card, but sometimes like some cards really are like, no, you got to do this. Oh, we got another one from Nelly, Ace of Wands, and the message was, you got this, very powerful and strong. Ooh, heck yes, Nelly. Oh
What
my
I love about every single person's card, and I'm gonna get like all teary, is that every single one of us got the message that like, you've got this, you're strong enough, you're going in the right direction. Like you're the only one that's stopping yourself, really.
I'm not gonna lie, this is so weird and magical because you know what? I got the Seven of Crystals, and what I got is, it's fine. We're safe. We're planting the seeds. We're planting the seeds for magic. Like it's we're sowing. We're sowing right now. We're planting the seeds for magic, and you're safe. You're fine. We've got this. Like that's what I kept getting to. So I kind of love that. That's like literally like we all have this magic wave current of like because like literally mine wasn't saying like I've got this. Mine was saying you've all got this, and literally all of you guys were like I've got a card that's saying I've got this. So
Yes.
that's
Crystal got the Ten of Pentacles, and I'm curious, Crystal, what did you think of that? What's the message that you got? Like, we can't tell you. I'm curious to see what message came to you. And for all of you that are watching this on YouTube after, this is such an amazing practice. Please leave in the comments if you choose to do this practice, because I want to know. Like, I just want to I love hearing other people's epiphanies. Like, I go every single day in my life is a giant epiphany when I'm with my cards. I'm like, oh, that thing. Oh, that's how I deal with this. But, you know, I love also hearing everyone else's epiphanies. And it just goes to show you that we're all here on this planet as one. We're all in this consciousness. We're all having the same experience. And we're going through the same cycles in different ways with different circumstances. And every single day we have the power to choose. We can use these tools to help us choose and answer our own questions. One of the things that we talked about in Kim's numerology video was that we're always looking outside of ourselves for the answers. And when you have a tool like this, when you're using tarot, it's like you have all of the answers. You can unblock anything without even having to talk to anybody else, right?
I love it. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that we got to do this today. And I still have like more to say on tarot, but I've got so much to say on so many topics, and I just know that I got to come back again and again.
Yes. Wait. You were so funny last night. So you know, you guys, just so you know, like this is a show. I love this show. Tia Magick is my favorite show. I'm a host. I'm a professional host. Obviously, I've been doing this for so many years, like I don't know, 20 years or whatever. And I want to pitch this show as a much bigger show. And so I was like, yes, it's going to be this national show or global show. And Tiffany was like, it's kind of like SNL. And what character are you?
Oh yeah, and I'm like your Alec Baldwin.
For those of you that aren't familiar with SNL, he is the one guy, that the actor that hosted the show like a trillion times. Like he just kept coming back. That's funny. Every few months we're gonna be like, okay, so now we need another episode. But no, really, you guys, if you love tarot and you want to know more about it, she clearly, like you think you know tarot, and then you talk to Tiffany and you're like, no, I don't know anything about tarot. She's going to be teaching classes. She's giving away free information. She's got like a whole school that she's building, not just about tarot, but about, you know, witchery as well. And you're just such a breadth of knowledge for like everything magic. You are, I mean, look at her bookshelf. Like she is like the library. Do that one more time.
I was gifted with an amazing parent who has the same thirst for books as I do. So I've got a unique advantage in education aside from being hardcore Virgo, Hermione, Ravenclaw energy. I've got access to like 1,000+ books on magic, tarot, all these things. And I know that's not something that everyone else has. And on top of that, I read about twice as fast as everyone else. So like I really want to be able to help teach this stuff just because I can get through so much more information than the average person. And I love concepts of learning how to learn. And so my teaching style is I don't just teach rote information. I teach using metaphors. I teach using pop culture because I want to make sure that you really like are able to understand the information and have fun with it. You know, I know how like the brain's wire to learn something, so I play around with that and make sure that like you know what's going on. So come learn from me. I would love to teach you.
Oh my gosh. And on that note, I mean, we're already going through this crazy human experience, and sometimes it's not fun. So if you're going to be learning, like that should be fun, right?
Right?
That's what I love. So before we go, we're definitely going to get to the comments later in the video. Everyone's sharing. Well, here, I'll just share it. Crystal had, I believe, the 10 of Pentacles, cultivating good relationships with a rebirth.
Ooh.
Ruth did use the Galaxy app. I know she's at work right now, which I love that about you, Ruth. She's like in the break room, like, I need to do this. I'm like, so love that, love that. She got the 5 of Pentacles. I'm not alone in life. And Jeannie got the 3 of Winter. Reach out to others for comfort and love. You will go stronger from the situation. Sadness that will heal with time. Oh my gosh. It's just, your messages are so beautiful, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Before we go, I want you to share. We are going to put in the links, but just give us just a quick rundown of like where people can find you. And then I'll put those links in there in the video.
Right now, well, so specifically for this, I put together Called Out by Tarot because I would love to get people to come be a beta tester for this tarot course that I'm putting together, because I just really want to make sure that I'm teaching people what they want to know and like really providing transformation through tarot. So calledoutbytarot.com will get you on the waiting list. It will also get you the cheat sheet, and it'll also give you information to my website, Majorly Arcana. The other link, especially if you liked today's episode, is to go watch my tarot episode at my YouTube channel, and do me a favor and go subscribe. I will be releasing new videos soonish. I've got a new series coming called Pop Culture Tarot, where I compare every single deck, every single card in the tarot to like pop culture moments and characters. Oh my gosh, I've got like a whole beautiful world I'm building for you guys. So just go to calledoutbytarot.com and get on the waiting list, and the YouTube channel too if you want.
Yay! Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. This is Tea and Magic. Every single Friday, we go live in the Magic Grove. So if you want to watch us live, if you want to participate, sometimes we have free things giveaway. Obviously, we have awesome interaction happening in this group. Come over to our Facebook groups, Magic Grove. You can find us on Instagram, The Magic Grove, or you can go to themagicgrove.com and get all of our links there. And I'm going to be including that in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait to do magic for you next week. Oh, and one last thing, because Tiffany reminded me of this. Do go to themagicgrove.com if you want direct access to the things that I'm working on. I have a moon magic course that I'm beta testing right now that I'm going to expand into a much bigger program. I'm actually going through 3 levels, working with the earth for health and wellness, working with the moon for love and relationships, and working with something no one else works with is the sun energy and sun magic to bring in financial wealth and career success. So this is something I'm working on. You can go to themagicgrove.com and sign up and subscribe. Like, what is that word? Register, subscribe to the newsletter and find out more information there. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week.